meteorological events.
Victoria!
The greatest impact of climate change will be observed on the populations living in the centers of metropolitans. For example, the city of New York, where we are right now, has gone through very challenging days as it has suffered from giant hurricanes within only a 2-week time span, which in turn caused rainfalls witnessed only once every 500 years. The destruction caused by rains affecting the Western Europe has yet to be repaired. Although we, as Turkey, produce the most rapid and effective solutions in that regard, we've experienced our share of quite challenging days. A significant part of the world infrastructure is a byproduct of the last 2 centuries of human progress. So it is not possible to handle the ramifications of climate change with the existing infrastructure. The continued rise in global temperatures, hence expectations for more intense rainfalls, must steer all of us towards new pursuits. For example, it has now become mandatory for urban planning to be taken into consideration by respecting the consequences of climate change. Another danger awaiting our world is that forests, being among the most important carbon sinks, are now facing complete annihilation due to land use on the one hand and fires on the other. Another area affected by the increase in temperature is our seas. Expanding water and melting glaciers have raised sea levels by 20 centimeters over the past century. This figure is the fastest increase during the last 3,000 years. If effective measures will not be taken and greenhouse gas emissions will continue to increase, sea levels are expected to rise by more than 1 meter at the end of this century. Such a rise would mean that an important part of coastal cities and island states will be wiped out completely. Of course, this situation will also be accompanied by new and massive waves of migration. I would like to draw your attention to the fact that all these problems have come up only with a 1.1 degrees Celsius increase in temperature. I leave it to you to consider what would happen if the temperature increase would reach 1.5 Celsius or 2 Celsius, or even more. Distinguished delegates, hence, after all these developments, as the states of the world, we came together in 2015 to fight climate change, and we've agreed on the Paris Climate Agreement. The scope of the agreement is to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius by the midst of the century. However, the current trend shows that this is not quite possible if measures will not be taken duly. For this reason, first and foremost, it's compulsory for countries with historical accountability for the emergence of problems which led to climate change to take the main responsibility. It may be possible to prevent the coronavirus pandemic with the vaccines which were developed. However, it's out of the question to find such a laboratory-manufactured solution to climate change. For this reason, also for climate change, we repeat our appeal with the motto that we continuously repeat: the world is bigger than 5. Whoever has done the most damage to nature, to our atmosphere, our water, our soil, and the earth, and whoever has wildly exploited natural resources should also make the greatest contribution to the fight against climate change. Unlike the past, this time, no one can afford the luxury to say, "I'm powerful, so I will not pay the bill." Because climate change will treat mankind quite equally.
That's a great comment you made.
It will treat everyone exactly the same, regardless of the differences between the European or the Asian, American or the African, rich or the poor. The duty for all of us is to take measures against this enormous threat with a fair burden sharing and to fulfill our obligations duly and immediately. As Turkey, we act with this mentality. We are among the first countries to have signed the Paris Climate Agreement. However, we hadn't yet ratified this agreement due to the injustices related to stated obligations and burden sharing. I would like to announce to the whole world, here from the United Nations General Assembly, the decision we have taken following the progress made within the framework of the agreement recently. We plan to present the Paris Climate Agreement for approval to our Parliament next month, within the framework of our National Determination Contribution Statement and in conformity with the positive steps which will be taken.
6:14.
Before the United Nations Climate Change Conference, which will be held in Glasgow, we envisage to complete the ratification phase of the Carbon Neutral Targeted Agreement. We consider this process, which will lead to radical changes in our investment, manufacturing, and employment policies, as one of the main elements of our 2053 vision. Of course, we have other measures with respect to climate change. We prepared the action plan necessary for harmonization with European Union's Green Deal and put it into effect in the past month. With the Zero Waste Project led by First Lady, my wife, Her Excellency Emine Erdogan, we increased our recycling rate by 9 points in 3 years. We increased our sink areas by increasing our forest assets from 20.8 million hectares to approximately 23 million hectares. We increased the share of renewable energy resources in our electricity generation capacity to 53%. We have been promoting the steps that will restructure our industry in accordance with cleaner production activities for a better future. We are determined to bring these efforts forward by receiving the necessary financial support. Turkey is not indifferent to any global problem whatsoever, crisis or call, and will do its part on climate change and environmental protection similarly. So, ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude my remark, I would like to emphasize once again that our belief a fairer world is possible despite the difficulties we face. In this vein, we continue to view the United Nations as the unique platform for solving issues that concern the entire human race. Our new Turkish House building, located right in front of this building, which we have officially inaugurated only yesterday, is a testimony of our trust and confidence in the United Nations system. As a country with one of the 5 largest diplomatic networks in the world, we have a strong presence in the field and at the table for conscientious and fair solutions in a very wide geography. We can build a world of peace, stability, prosperity, and happiness all together. I once again would like to greet you all on behalf of my nation and wish the 76th General Assembly utmost success. May you all remain in good health.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Turkey for the statement just made, and I request protocol to escort His Excellency. The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Guy Parmelin, President of the Swiss Confederation. I request protocol to escort His Excellency. On behalf of the General Assembly, I have the honor to welcome to the United Nations His Excellency Guy Parmelin, President of the Swiss Confederation, and to invite him to address the Assembly.
Thank you, Mr. President of the General Assembly, Madam Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, ladies and gentlemen, heads of state and government, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. For most of my professional life, I have been a wine grower. Wine growing has taught me patience, perseverance, and confidence. A vine takes years to grow and produce. Improving grape varieties is a subtle science to produce the best wines. You have to respect nature and work in tune with it. Why am I talking to you about this here in the sanctuary of the United Nations? The COVID-19 pandemic is a bit like hail or frost that can suddenly ravage vines, unexpected and destabilizing. Good wine growers live with this risk and know how to recover from such twists of fate. The pandemic